Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. So I guess when I ended up doing 2 issues of Ultimate Power in 2019, my brain decided, I don't have to do one in 2020. So yeah, since it was like 100 episodes ago when we last looked at this series, a quick recap. Ultimate Reed Richards is an idiot, and as many people were keen to point out, a supervillain later, thanks Marvel, and sent out probes to other dimensions in the hopes of finding a cure for Ultimate Ben Grimm's condition as the Thing. Instead, he ended up accidentally creating some kind of biological weapon in the Supreme Power universe, wherein the Squadron Supreme of that Earth went to grab him, and he voluntarily surrendered. But Nick Fury led a massive group of superheroes out to retrieve him, apparently taking the friggin' USS Enterprise E because Greg Land traced from that just like he traces everything in his art. Anyway, Evil Von Evilton Emil Burbank knocks Reed Richards unconscious instead of letting him calm down the heroes coming after him, while it's revealed that Nick Fury has been working with Dr. Doom this whole time, who blasts Nick and heads down to join the fray. So let's dig into Ultimate Power number 7 and see if this is an issue where things actually happen, or if, like last time, we're going to be condensing a few more issues into one video.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man punch, sporadically a grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. Linkara, ghosts got a universe in flux. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Reading from a trade and no looking at the cover, safe to say that we have entered our final author of this miniseries, Jeff Loeb, who wrote Ultimatum and Ultimates 3. Batting 3 for 3 on crappy Ultimate Universe crossovers. Impressive! We open with a 2-page spread where Dr. Doom and Iron Man are engaged in punching without actually hitting the other, while the Scarlet Witch lies on the ground, unconscious, in a pose that was probably stolen from porn. After all, what we really need to be focusing on in the middle of these 2 pages is her boobs. What's really amusing about this essentially just being multiple issues of fight scenes so far is that they're just such bad fight scenes. I've talked before about the deterioration of fight scene artwork over the years, but no one does it worse than Land. There's no flow to the fights at all. It's just people making big poses that might look good for a statue, but are awful for sequential art. It's just issue after issue of people going. On the helicarrier above, Spidey has shoved Nick Fury into some computer consoles to demand an explanation for Dr. Doom's presence, threatening to fill his lungs with webbing if he doesn't get an answer. What's Doc Doom doing here? Kicking some serious ass as far as I can tell. Despite being panicky and worried about it last issue, I am suddenly elated that he's beating up my side. I'm such a great character in this. Spidey wants a proper explanation, and Fury is happy to provide it. After Reed's proposal to S.H.I.E.L.D. to send out the interdimensional probes was rejected, it turns out both Fury and Carol Danvers were aware that he'd send probes out anyway. Fury broke into the Baxter building that night before Reed sent them out, and had Dr. Doom reprogram the probes to relay information back to S.H.I.E.L.D. before it went to Reed. And again, as you can see from the backgrounds, he did it from the bridge of the Enterprise. Look, I don't like you being here. The instant you figure out warp drive technology, the Federation is doomed. Ha! Doom approves of the pun on his name! That was accidental. You presume that Doom cares. How he got in touch with Doom, especially given a revelation for Doom's presence here in the next issue, is not explained. But yeah, Fury says he doesn't like dealing with him any more than he liked dealing with Saddam Hussein back in the day. Yeah, but I don't think we had Saddam Hussein break into a high-tech research facility to gain access to sensitive information and tech just for the sake of having secrets. Although maybe we did. The US government does enough shady crap in its history for something like that. Like, I read through this book and back again to Ultimatum, and I'm struggling to find an actual motive for Nick Fury other than generic being secretive bullcrap. Like, if you wanted all this, why even be secretive at all? Why not work with Reed, limit how many probes he sends out, and insist you get to see all data first? Why work with Dr. Doom on this? Oh, because your scientists couldn't figure out the probes? Well, maybe if Reed was on board with you, you'd actually have some help. I mean, at least when Nick Fury in the MCU was being secretive and keeping things from the team in the first Avengers movie, his motives made sense. Superpowered beings come to Earth and they needed more advanced weaponry to counter them. And even then, he put more faith in the Avengers initiative to do that instead of bigger, stronger guns. It's just he was ordered to build the bigger, stronger guns by the shadowy council from XCOM. Here, his motives are just, this information could be dangerous. Better get a known supervillain to supposedly help us, even though he has more reason to just help himself. But yep, that's how things went down. He brought Doom to the Baxter building in the middle of the night while everyone was sleeping, had him reprogram the probes before Reed then sent them off without authorization, and then everything went down, like this image of Hyperion pointing at the reader. Reed Richards, does this bug you? I'm not touching you. That Hyperion dude and his merry band dropped by and kicked the crap out of us, all because of something they think Reed did, but really it was Doom? Spoilers for the next few pages, but nope, Doom's not even responsible for this either. It looks like Doom didn't even do anything to the probe beyond what he was contracted for. The main villain for your big crossover is, in fact, fairly inconsequential to the whole thing. Maybe because there were 3 writers on this story, they all gave like a third of the effort they normally bring. But yeah, next page we cut to the Pentagon, where Emil Burbank, the Supreme Powers version of Lex Luthor, has knocked Reed out with some gas as he gives his own exposition dump. Imagine living your whole life thinking the universe was one way. Then you find out what really goes into Arby's horsey sauce, and nothing makes sense anymore. Wasn't the world once believed to be flat? Once. It's not funny, it's just really depressing. Or don't they have Columbus where you're from? I don't know, does your Earth have Aristophanes? Just seems like someone who's supposed to be so smart wouldn't be so dumb. I mean, a universe that doesn't have an Emil Burbank just chills me. A world without gloating speeches to unconscious people? Perish the thought! Yeah, he even admits that Reed is unconscious as he talks about all this, particularly how he was the smartest man on Earth, won a Nobel Prize, but then Hyperion showed up on their world and his Nobel Prize was a footnote on that day, realizing that superheroes were going to get more attention than him. Several months later, the government contacted Burbank and asked for a weapon to kill Hyperion if he got out of control. The biological mass that they blamed on Reed Richards' probe is that weapon. Oh, and the government also said it was okay with 10 million casualties worldwide as long as it did the job of killing him.
I'm the government, I'm the government, I'm the reason nothing works.
Despite the fact that this was just supposed to be an option should they ever need it, they apparently decided to unleash it right then and there, using Reed Richards' probe as their scapegoat so no one knew it was them. So there you go! Doom is not responsible for this either! What was the point in including him if he's not gonna have any bearing on the plot? Reed is actually awake, having expanded his lungs so he can hold his breath longer, and he quickly grabs Emil and squeezes him like a stress ball, saying they're gonna find Hyperion and explain all this to him. Meanwhile, Thor forces the naked Hyperion down into the biomass and starts beating him up with his hammer. Characters continue punching each other, and back on the helicarrier, Spidey is berating Fury on what an idiotic plan recruiting Doom was. Pardon me for not being the super-duper James Bondy that you are, Fury, but didn't anybody at spy school ever tell you, put the fox in charge of the hen house? All you get is chicken salad? Yes, but only because I took an elective in farm espionage. We took a chance, yeah?
Yeah?
A chance for what? Let's say this plan even worked. Whoop-de-crap! Now you know more about a parallel universe a slightly longer time than Reed Richards does. Congrats! It makes this whole thing worth it! Not buying the extended warranty on your cell phone is taking a chance. What part about the name Doom in Doc Doom hasn't rung your bell? That is an odd way of phrasing that, Spidey. Shouldn't that be raised your alarm bell? Ringing a bell is supposed to be a reminder, a sarcastic way of saying, hey, remember this? Look, Mr. Parker, I know you think that because I have one eye I can't see, but I have been doing this job longer than you've been alive. I've been making stupid decisions since before you were born. And one of the things I've learned is, if you've got a fox in your chicken house, get a bigger dog. It'll kill the chickens much faster. And thus he reveals his secret weapon in this fight, the Hulk. You are just full of good decisions today, Nick. Speaking of bad ideas, Quicksilver finds the Scarlet Witch and wakes her up. He thinks that if she can concentrate all her power on defeating the Squadron Supreme, they can win this. Wanda, however, is reluctant. My power is unpredictable enough, but here, on whatever world this is in, whatever universe, I could end up making a sitcom starring me, and you could be played by someone else! He finally convinces her to try while the X-Men find Mr. Fantastic and Email, freeing them, and so our comic ends with the results of Wanda's spell, namely that it somehow summoned the Squadron Supreme that the main Marvel Universe normally interacts with. And like the last time, this would actually make for a pretty short episode, so yeah, like before, we're gonna dig into issue 8 as well. God, with as little as happened in this thing to necessitate me doing this so many times, you'd think they'd have just stretched this out to a full 12 issues of nothing happening! And yes, issue 8 is another big, terrible, chaotic fight scene. Wolverine fights the Squadron Supreme Hyperion. What the hell are you made of? Righteousness. Oh, you're one of those people. I bet that you think we should be fighting supervillains instead of other heroes. Yeah, when I think about it, this is kind of a microcosm of so many of Marvel's events. Just have the heroes fight each other for a bunch of issues, stupid revelations, existing more to prop up future events that are just as bad, if not worse. And the conflict itself is either idiotic, or it can be resolved peacefully if the characters weren't acting idiotic. Reed ends up fighting the Squadron Supreme character Shape, who can stretch his body like putty. I don't understand. There are doppelgangers of you all? How can there be two versions of the same being occupying the same universe? Dude, you kept zombie versions of yourselves from another universe in the Baxter Building for days or weeks. This is not new to you. So apparently, according to the Squadron Supreme, they got one of Reed's probes into their universe too, and followed it here. But does that mean they have the weird biomass as well? And if that was happening in their own universe, what does that have to do with the Scarlet Witch apparently summoning them? The Whizzer, the Squadron Supreme speedster, realizes that something is wrong. Their powers are only half as effective, something that Hyperion of the Supreme Power Universe is experiencing as he wrestles Thor. Also, Iron Man and Dr. Doom are fighting, I guess, but again, Doom is barely a footnote in the story, despite how a big reveal he was supposed to be. I've claimed this Earth for myself, Stark! When you fall, it will follow! Not much of a plan, Doom, since I'm not going down. Doom's plan of taking over this planet by virtue of just being here is a great one, Stark! Doom is a magnificent bastard! He read Doom's book! Thor is pissed about how Hyperion is suddenly trying to de-escalate as he realizes something's wrong, but Zarda and Dr. Spectrum from Supreme Power calm him, pointing out that they could continue fighting indefinitely, but if there is someone else responsible for this mess, they should actually try to uncover it. Doom manages to finally knock out Iron Man, but the Thing punches him in yet another 2-page spread. Oh yeah, this issue has a ton of unnecessary 2-page spreads. Reed Richards would have a tough time stretching as much as this comic has for content. Just bear in mind, this shot of the Thing punching Doom, that's past the halfway point of this issue. Anyway, Ben Grimm starts beating the snot out of Doom, only to rip Doom's arms off and reveal that he's actually been a Doom bot this whole time. I think this is supposed to imply that the real Doom was still behind this and just sent the Doom bot in his place. But again, for what reason? What was the plan? What was being accomplished by just sending a Doombot to fight people? Ugh. Anyway, Hyperion finally got himself a change of clothes. The two squadrons, for some reason, are repeating each other as they fight their counterparts in yet another lazy spread to pad this crap out. We saw with House of M that Brian Michael Bendis loves to stretch things out and decompress for a ridiculous amount of issues, but we had J. Michael Straczynski and Jeff Loeb for the last few issues. Why is this book not over yet? Nighthawk from the Squadron Supreme spots Captain America, who he's met before in the regular Marvel Universe, but of course everyone is confused about what the hell this all means. Scarlet Witch says that she knew something terrible would happen if she used her magics here, something the two Arcanas repeat that she has much to answer for. Like, what beyond this single thing does she have to answer for? Back in the helicarrier, Spidey asks why the hell they're throwing the Hulk into what is already a cluster crap.
Don't they teach you anything in high school?
Hey, I go to public school. We're lucky to have books.
The only books we have are ones that were banned by other schools.
When two sides are too evenly matched, introduce a third element that will unite them all. Strategy 101.
How about Idiocy 101, where the Hulk kills them all, or they defeat the Hulk and then just go back to fighting each other anyway, or they don't unite to fight him because the situation is weird and complicated and nobody knows what's going on and just assumes he's yet another person on either player's side. What if he, starts eating people? Seriously, what the hell was up with the Ultimate Universe and cannibalism?
That's why you're going with him. Be his conscience, like Jimmy Cricket.
It's Jiminy. Didn't they teach you anything in high school? I mean, with Disney acquiring everything else on the planet, I'm sure at some point they'll own schools that teach about the Disney canon. And so, issue 8 ends with Spidey riding Ultimate Hulk down in yet another 2-page spread like this was friggin' Dr. Strangelove. These comics suck! I'd move on to issue 9 and end this whole thing right here, but frankly, I think I've had more than I want to at this point. And it's still lacking in content! What an enormous waste of time this series is! The artwork on these 2 issues is better, there's still plenty of tracing going on, but it hasn't been as extreme as other issues have been, with repeating the same faces multiple times in the same issue. Or at least I didn't notice it as much. But hey, maybe I didn't notice it because the writing is so asinine. Plot points that go nowhere, motivations and actions that don't make any sense, and stretching the plot out for so long that twice now I've had to cover 2 issues just so it didn't feel like you guys weren't getting a super short video. And yet that's probably gonna happen when I get around to doing the final issue. Next time, back to Patreon-sponsored reviews. And back to Batman. Sort of. But more importantly, back to those Villain Month comics I've talked about a few times. And finally back to Batman the Dark Knight, that awful, pointless book that originally gave us One Face. The issue is not about One Face, though it is about a face. I'm leaving now. We see this image of Emil making the biomass. Actual footage of how Wendy's makes a Frosty.
Hello my friends, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon or purchase a t-shirt via Teespring or Shark Robot. Thanks for watching!